Before we begin, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because what you're about to hear might be the message you were meant to receive today. Ibn Arabi once wrote, "There are words that do not come from the tongue, but from the destiny written in your soul." And sometimes, when life feels heavy, when silence surrounds you, when everything you relied on begins to fade, that's when the message meant for you finally arrives. This is not a coincidence. You were guided here. Every pain, every delay, every unanswered prayer, all of it was preparation. Allah wanted your heart quiet enough to finally listen. Because the truth is, divine wisdom never shouts, it whispers. And only the heart softened by struggle can hear it. Ibn Arabi taught that Allah speaks through signs long before He speaks through words. The things that frustrate you, the doors that won't open, the people who leave, they're all part of a sacred conversation. You keep asking, "Why is this happening?" But He's asking, "Will you trust me?" And maybe that's the message meant for you today, that nothing in your life is out of order. The heartbreaks weren't mistakes, they were mirrors. The silence wasn't absence, it was training. The waiting wasn't punishment, it was protection. Every unanswered prayer was simply being rewritten in a better language. Allah doesn't withhold what you desire to hurt you. He withholds to replace. He delays to prepare. He hides to protect. And when you finally surrender, when you say, "Ya Allah, even if I don't understand, I trust you," that's when the hidden truth begins to reveal itself. Ibn Arabi said, "The truth you seek is not outside of you, it is buried beneath the noise you created." So maybe this moment, right now, is the one your soul has been waiting for, to stop searching and start remembering. Because you were never lost. You are being guided back to the voice that's been calling you all along, the quiet, constant whisper that says, "Return to me." This is your message today. Everything you've gone through was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken you. And the one who brought you here has not forgotten you, He's been waiting for you to finally listen. And when you finally stop running and begin to listen, something inside you stirs, not fear, not doubt, but recognition. That quiet voice inside your chest that has been whispering through every storm finally feels familiar. Ibn Arabi said, "The call you hear is not from the outside world, but from the soul remembering its origin." You realize that what you've been searching for in people, in success, in distractions, was never lost. It was simply buried under the noise of your own heartbeat. Every unanswered question, every sleepless night, every tear you shed alone, they weren't signs of abandonment. They were invitations. Invitations from Allah to return to silence, to stop asking "Why me?" and start asking, "What are you teaching me?" Because every soul chosen for awakening must first be broken open. The cracks are not flaws, they are entrances for light. And then, as your heart softens, you begin to see signs everywhere, not as coincidences, but confirmations. The stranger's kindness, the verse you stumble upon, the timing that feels too perfect to explain, all of it is Him speaking in a language that only surrender understands. You start realizing that Allah never stopped guiding you, He was guiding you through every detour, every delay, every pain you thought had no purpose. You remember Ibn Arabi's words, "If you knew the unseen, you would choose the same path you're on." And suddenly, your past doesn't look like chaos anymore, it looks like choreography. Every heartbreak positioned you closer to mercy. Every failure stripped you of illusion. Every silence taught you how to hear what can't be spoken. So maybe the hidden truth you were destined to hear today is this: you are exactly where you're meant to be. Not behind, not late, not forgotten. You are in divine timing. The things that left you were never meant to stay, and the things meant for you are already on their way, moving through the unseen toward your heart. You no longer need to chase what's written for you. You just need to trust the writer. And as that trust begins to grow, your whole world starts to look different. The same reality that once felt uncertain now feels sacred, every breath feels intentional, every moment feels alive with purpose. You start to sense that life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. Ibn Arabi said, "The events of your life are not random, they are the verses of a hidden book written for your awakening." And now, for the first time, you're learning how to read it. You begin to understand that every person you met was a reflection, not an accident. The ones who loved you taught you mercy. The ones who hurt you taught you patience. The ones who left you taught you detachment. And through them all, Allah was teaching you how to return to Him with a softer heart and a clearer vision. Even your pain starts to make sense. You realize that it was never about punishment, but purification. Every tear was a cleansing. Every loss was space being made for something greater. Every delay was divine timing unfolding in silence. You remember what Ibn Arabi wrote, "The heart that breaks for Allah becomes a throne for His presence." And maybe that's what your heartbreak was, not a fall, but a transformation. Slowly, your prayers change. You no longer beg for what you want, you ask for what will bring you closer to Him. You no longer seek control, you seek connection. You don't say, "Why is this happening?" anymore. You say, "Alhamdulillah, guide me through it." And when you pray like that, life begins to respond differently. Doors open not because you force them, but because you've become ready to walk through them. Then one day, you look back and realize that everything you once questioned has led you here, to peace, to purpose, to understanding. You realize that Allah was never silent, He was speaking in every delay, in every disappointment, in every detour. You just had to quiet your fears long enough to hear the message. And maybe that message, the one you were destined to hear today, is simply this: you were never walking alone. The path you thought was pain was actually the road home. And when that realization sinks in, your heart feels weightless, as if something heavy you'd carried for years has quietly dissolved. You start to breathe differently, slower, deeper, as though every inhale is a reminder that Allah is near. Ibn Arabi said, "The heart that remembers its source no longer fears the journey." And that's what happens, the fear fades, because you finally see what was guiding you all along. You look at your past with new eyes. The nights of confusion now look like classrooms, the losses now look like maps. Everything that broke you didn't destroy you, it revealed you. The person you are today was born in the fire you once begged to escape. And now that you've walked through it, you understand what it gave you: clarity, compassion, and the unshakable certainty that nothing is wasted in Allah's plan. The silence that once scared you has become your peace. You've learned that when Allah hides you, it's not rejection, it's refinement. When He delays you, it's not denial, it's design. You stop rushing His timing because you've seen the beauty of His precision. Every step, even the ones that felt lost, led you exactly where you needed to be. You begin to trust your pauses, your solitude, your stillness. You understand now that these quiet seasons are where Allah speaks the loudest. Ibn Arabi wrote, "Silence is the language of the divine, and all else is translation." So you stop filling the silence with worry and begin filling it with dhikr. And the more you remember Him, the more everything else begins to fall into place. You notice the little signs again, the verse that finds you when you need it, the warmth that rises in your chest during prayer, the calm that arrives for no reason at all. That calm is the reason. It's the confirmation that you've returned to alignment with what was written for you. So when life tests you again, as it always will, you won't panic anymore. You'll smile through the storm and whisper, "Ya Allah, I recognize this. You're teaching me again." Because now you know. Pain isn't the end of the conversation, it's the beginning of a deeper one. And that's the hidden truth you were destined to hear today, that everything you've endured wasn't breaking you, it was building the version of you that could finally hear Allah's whisper in every moment of your life. And once you learn to hear that whisper, your entire world begins to glow with a new kind of light, not the light of answers, but the light of awareness. You no longer crave control, because you've tasted trust. You no longer beg for signs, because you see them everywhere. The morning sun becomes a reminder of mercy. The sound of rain becomes a verse. The beating of your heart feels like dhikr in motion. Ibn Arabi said, "When the veil is lifted, you do not see new things, you finally see what has always been there." Now you understand that Allah was never far. He was in the pauses between your words, in the breaths between your tears, in the moments when you thought you had no strength left but still kept going. That strength, it was never yours. It was Him, moving through you. And you realized that every hardship you survived was not proof of your power, but proof of His presence. Your heart softens in a way it never has before. You stop fighting your story. You start loving the writer. Every chapter, even the painful ones, now feels sacred. You look back at what once broke you and whisper, "Alhamdulillah, it was you teaching me how to love beyond fear." Your prayers shift once more. They're no longer lists of requests, they're conversations of gratitude. You start saying, "Ya Allah, thank you for the strength you gave me through weakness, for the clarity you gave me through loss, for the peace you gave me through patience." Because you've learned that every unanswered prayer was answered in a better form, not with things, but with wisdom. Ibn Arabi wrote, "When the seeker reaches understanding, he stops asking for signs and starts becoming one." And that's what you've become, a living reminder of divine timing, a quiet example of faith that doesn't waver when tested. You move through life calmly now. You don't rush. You don't fear. You don't chase. Because the one who walks with Allah is never behind, never alone, and never empty. You've discovered the secret: peace isn't found at the end of the path, it is the path. And when you close your eyes tonight, you'll feel it, that still, powerful certainty that everything you've lived, every joy and every tear, was written not to break you, but to awaken you. That's the message you were destined to hear. Allah has been speaking to you all along, you just had to go through silence to finally understand His language. And as your soul settles into that understanding, the world around you doesn't change, but the way you see it does. Every sunrise now feels like a personal promise from Allah that your story is still unfolding exactly as it should. Every sunset feels like reassurance that even endings carry beauty when they come from His decree. Ibn Arabi said, "The heart that sees Allah in every moment will never call anything a loss." And you begin to live like that, unafraid of what leaves, and deeply grateful for what stays. You stop asking for life to get easier and start asking for your faith to get stronger. You stop measuring blessings by their size and start recognizing them by their light. You stop chasing what's temporary because you've tasted what's eternal, that peace that no circumstance can touch, that closeness that no distance can break. You finally understand that Allah didn't just want you to believe in Him, He wanted you to experience Him. Every delay, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer was a doorway into deeper knowing. You see now that His silence was never neglect, it was attention, guiding you inward, teaching you how to listen not with your ears, but with your heart. And now that your heart has learned to listen, everything around you becomes a verse. When the wind brushes your face, it feels like mercy. When someone smiles at you unexpectedly, it feels like a sign. When something doesn't work out, you no longer say why, you say Alhamdulillah, you know what I don't. That is freedom, not from pain, but from resistance. Ibn Arabi wrote, "When the lover sees that every path leads back to the beloved, he stops fearing which way he goes. And that's you now. No matter what happens next, you walk with peace. You don't need guarantees, because you have guidance. You don't need control, because you have clarity. You don't need to see the future, because you trust the one who already wrote it. And when you look back one last time, you'll smile, not because life was perfect, but because every imperfection became a portal to understanding. You'll whisper softly, "Ya Allah, everything I thought was taking me away from you was actually bringing me home." That's the hidden truth Ibn Arabi wanted you to discover. The message you were destined to hear today was never outside you, it was written inside your soul since the beginning of time. You just had to wake up to remember. And when that remembrance finally fills your heart, you no longer feel like you're walking through life, you feel like life is walking through you. Every step feels divinely placed, every breath feels like dhikr, every heartbeat whispers Allahu Akbar. You begin to exist not as someone searching, but as someone surrendered. Ibn Arabi said, when the heart surrenders completely, it stops asking for miracles because it realizes it already is one. And now, you feel that truth in your bones. You realize that what you were looking for, peace, love, purpose, was never somewhere out there, it was inside you, waiting for the moment you'd quiet the world long enough to hear it. The truth didn't arrive today, it awakened today. And you see how every pain, every delay, every unanswered prayer was not in the way, it was the way. You start to notice how light follows you. Not the kind that people can see, but the kind that hearts can feel. Strangers begin to find comfort in your calm. Words flow through you that heal others, not because you're special, but because you've learned to be still enough for Allah to speak through you. You've become what Ibn Arabi called a mirror of the divine, reflecting mercy, patience, and truth wherever you go. The storms don't stop, but they no longer scare you. You've stood in the rain long enough to know that every drop carries blessing. You've walked through darkness long enough to see that it's just another form of light. And so when the next trial comes, you don't say, "Why me?" You say, "Here you are again, Ya Allah, teaching me." Your dua changes too. You stop asking for the world to bend to your will and start asking for your will to bend toward His. You stop praying for things to stay, and start praying for your heart to stay steadfast. You stop fearing loss, because now you know Allah never takes without giving, never closes without redirecting, never tests without teaching. And as night falls and the world quiets, you sit in silence, not lonely, but luminous. You close your eyes, and for the first time, you don't ask for anything. You just whisper, "I'm listening." And in that stillness, you feel it, that soft, sacred echo that has always been there. I was with you when you broke, I was with you when you healed, and I am with you still. That's when it hits you, the message you were destined to hear was never just words. It was this moment. The calm after all the storms. The understanding after all the questions. The peace after all the pain. Because the truth is simple, and Ibn Arabi knew it well, you were never searching for Allah, He was guiding you back to Himself all along. And in that final realization, everything falls silent, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of arrival. You no longer feel the need to seek, to question, to chase. The ache that once lived in your heart has turned into peace, deep and unwavering. Ibn Arabi said, when the seeker reaches the end of his journey, he discovers he never left the beloved's embrace. And that's where you are now, not lost, not waiting, but home. You finally understand that every prayer was answered, just not in the way you expected. Every delay was mercy disguised as patience. Every loss was love disguised as redirection. You see now that Allah was not distant. He was designing. He wasn't testing your faith, He was teaching you how to see. You look back at the road behind you, and it no longer hurts. It shines. Every heartbreak glows like a lantern that lit your way here. Every tear now looks like a drop of guidance. Every fall like a step forward. The pain that once broke you became the prayer that built you. And now, you live lighter. You speak softer. You walk slower. Because you no longer need proof, you've seen it. The truth you were destined to hear was never something new, it was something ancient, whispered to your soul before time began, I am near. You smile, because you know you were never forgotten, never forsaken, never alone. The same one who wrote your beginning is still holding your story, still guiding your steps, still calling your name in every breath you take. You raise your hands one last time, not in desperation, but in devotion. Ya Allah, thank you for every silence that taught me to listen, for every storm that taught me to trust, and for every moment that brought me back to you. And as your hands lower, your heart finally rests. The search ends, the soul exhales, and the message completes itself. You were never far from Allah. You were just on your way back home.